In the long and winding story of our origins, some discoveries don't just add a new chapter, they force us to rewrite the entire book. Deep within the ancient earth of Kenya, a shattered skull emerged with a face that simply should not have existed for another 1.5 million years. This is the story of Kenyanthropus platyops, the flat-faced hominin from Lamekwi.
You know, for most of the 20th century, the story of where we came from seemed, well, simple. Almost too simple. We pictured it as this grand, straight line, a march of progress from some ancient ape-like ancestor, stepping stone by stepping stone right up to us. This idea, this orthogenetic model, painted a very neat, very tidy picture of our past. And this thinking even got a formal name, the single-species hypothesis. The basic idea was that only one type of hominin could really exist on Earth at any one time. The logic was that they would compete too much. And for that crucial period, between 3 and 4 million years ago, the star of the show was supposed to be Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy species. She was it, our sole ancestor. And giants in the field, like Donald Johanson and Tim White, championed this view of a single direct line to us. This single line idea was so powerful, so dominant, that whenever a fossil turned up that didn't quite fit the mold, it was basically explained away. Take Australopithecus baharghazali, for instance. Found all the way out in Chad, it looked a bit different. But instead of seeing it as a separate species, it was just brushed off as a local variety of A. afarensis, just a cousin from out of town, not a whole new branch of the family. The story held. The line remained unbroken. But then, out in the dry, sun-baked lands of West Turkana and Kenya, something was about to happen that would crack that clean, simple story wide open. Because hidden deep inside the layers of ancient Earth, in a place called the Nachakui Formation, a completely different face was waiting to be found. Now this Nachakui Formation, it's like a giant layer cake of time, over 700 meters thick, and crucially, it's striped with layers of volcanic ash. We call them tuffs. These tuffs are amazing because we can date them with incredible precision using argon-argon methods. And the main skull, the one that started it all, was found in a layer called the Katabwe member. It was sandwiched perfectly between 2 dated ash layers, the Lokachat tuff below it and the Tulu board tuff above it. That pins its age down with confidence to right around 3.5 million years. So in 2001, a team led by the renowned paleoanthropologist Meev Leakey made the announcement. They had found a cranium, KNM-WT 40,000, and it just didn't fit the accepted story. It was an anomaly, something totally new for this time period. It was so different in fact that it needed a whole new name, Kenyanthropus platyops. And the name says it all. It comes from the Greek platus meaning flat, and opsis meaning face. This was, quite literally, the flat-faced hominin from Kenya. Now in some ways, this creature was still quite primitive. Its brain, for example, was small. The cranial capacity was only about 430 cubic centimeters, which is right in the ballpark of its contemporary, Australopithecus afarensis, and not much bigger than a modern chimpanzee's. Even its ear hole was small and very ape-like. So far, nothing too earth-shattering. But then, you get to the face, and that's where everything changes. Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy's kind, had a projecting snout, a prognathic face, with big, powerful molars. Kenyanthropus, on the other hand, was shockingly different. Its face was flat, vertical, a feature we call orthognathy, and its molar teeth were surprisingly small. This combination, a flat face on a small-brained hominin, this was a mix of features that just wasn't supposed to exist yet. Not for another 1.5 million years, when our own genus, Homo, arrived on the scene. This discovery wasn't just big, it was revolutionary. And as you might expect, it kicked off an immediate and intense scientific battle. The central issue was this. Was this bizarrely flat face a real biological trait, proof of a whole new kind of hominin? Or was it just an illusion, an accident of geology created by millions of years of damage to the bone? You see, the skull was found in terrible condition. It was shattered into more than 1,100 pieces. And so Tim White, a leading figure in the field, put forward a major challenge. He argued that the flatness wasn't real. He called it expanding matrix distortion. The idea is that over millions of years, minerals grew inside the cracks in the surrounding rock, and this expansion literally shattered and flattened the skull from all sides. In his view, KNM-WT 40,000 wasn't a new species at all. It was just a badly crushed, distorted skull of a regular old Australopithecus afarensis. To settle this debate, a team led by Fred Spoor brought in some truly cutting-edge technology,
First, they took incredibly detailed micro-CT scans of every single one of those 1,000+ fragments. Then, they reassembled the skull in a computer. But here's the brilliant part. They used powerful algorithms to mathematically uncrush it, to reverse the effects of all that geological distortion. The results were conclusive. Even after all that digital correction, the face was still remarkably flat, way outside the range of anything you'd expect to see in Australopithecus.
With the unique identity of Kenyanthropus now on much firmer ground, the story was about to get even wilder. Because another discovery from that very same Lomekwi region was about to add a whole new revolutionary layer, one that would completely rewrite the history of technology itself. In 2011, at a nearby site called Lomekwi 3, archaeologists found stone tools. But these weren't just any stone tools. They were dated to 3.3 million years ago. To put that in perspective, that makes them the oldest stone tools ever found, by a long shot. They pushed back the dawn of technology by a staggering 700,000 years. And this Lomekwian technology, as it's now called, was something different. The toolmakers were using techniques like the passive hammer method, basically smashing a big rock against another one sitting on the ground, like an anvil. And they were intentionally choosing massive, heavy blocks, some weighing as much as 15 kilos. This wasn't just random bashing, it required planning, a sequence of thought. It was a huge cognitive leap, a true missing link between the simple tool use we see in apes and the much more refined toolmaking of later hominins.
Think about that age for a moment. 3.3 million years ago. That's at least 500,000 years before the first members of our own genus, Homo, even appear in the fossil record. And when you look at who was living right there at that time, the only hominin we know for sure was in the neighborhood is Kenyanthropus platyops. That makes this flat-faced creature our prime suspect for being the world's very first stone toolmaker.
The fact that Kenyanthropus was making tools tells us so much, not just about its intelligence, but about the world it lived in and how it managed to make a living alongside other hominins. We have this classic picture in our heads of early hominins striding out onto the wide-open African savanna. But the chemistry of the ancient soils at Lomekwi paints a very different picture. Isotopic analysis shows a strong C3 signal. What that means in plain English is a world dominated by trees and shrubs, a humid, grassy woodland, full of dense thickets and forests lining the rivers.
And remember, this woodland world wasn't empty. Australopithecus afarensis was living there too. For two different hominin species to coexist, they must have been doing something different, a concept we call niche partitioning. A. afarensis, with its huge molars, was probably built for chewing tough plants. Kenyanthropus, with its smaller teeth, likely went for softer foods. But those tools, those Lomekwian tools, they changed the game. They could have given Kenyanthropus access to a whole new menu, bashing open bones for marrow or digging up tough underground roots. It was a real technological advantage. So when you put it all together, a unique face, the world's oldest stone tools, and a specialized way of life, you realize this creature has massive implications for our own family tree. It forces us to completely rethink the shape of our own past. And this is where the story gets really mind-bending. The unique facial structure of Kenyanthropus doesn't just disappear. It shows up again, 1.5 million years later. A species called Homo rudolfensis, living around 1.9 million years ago, has that same distinctively broad, flat midface, the same forward-set cheekbones. The resemblance is truly uncanny. This incredible similarity has given rise to a truly radical idea. What if our own genus, Homo, didn't just spring from the line of Australopithecus? What if instead, Kenyanthropus represents a completely separate lineage, an evolutionary experiment that ran in parallel to Lucy's kind, a lineage that eventually led to Homo rudolfensis? It means our family tree was never a simple ladder climbing upwards. It was always a dense, complex, branching book.
And we now know Kenyanthropus was far from alone. The Middle Pliocene, it turns out, was an absolute hotbed of hominin evolution. We now have evidence for multiple species living at the same time across Africa. Creatures like Australopithecus, Diarrhea, and the mysterious Bertali hominin from Ethiopia. It was a world crowded with many different attempts at being a hominin.
In the end, this flat-faced creature from Lomekwi has completely changed the way we see our own beginnings. It's shown us that the story of humanity was never a simple, straight march toward a known destination. Instead, it was a beautiful, messy, and rich experiment. A story with many different beginnings, full of diverse characters, each one a unique way of exploring what it meant to be a hominin.